Good afternoon. Gary Peterson, Director of Public Works, City of Salinas. One of my roles, other than attempting to manage Don Reynolds, which is one of my greatest pleasures and challenges, is to see to the health and safety of our community. In that role, we have to balance many, many needs. I think it's interesting that though the homeless population may have decreased this year slightly, every city decreased in homeless population except Salinas, which increased in homeless population. I think it's also important to understand that up until recently, when needle exchange programs stopped working, that 75% of the needle exchanges that happened in Monterey County happened in Chinatown. We've got some big problems. For us, it's about how do we keep a community safe. We are not without compassion. We are not without care at all. We are all in this together, but we need to make some decisions as we look at how to maintain the public health and safety. As I said, we've been down in Chinatown many, many times. We're changing the way that we're doing cleanups. There's been so much said about the ordinance, and so many people building power around the fear of that ordinance. That ordinance was created to specifically address immediate needs that focused on public health and safety. Don described the flooding situations. We also have had situations, I don't even want to go into detail about what's been done with human waste that had to immediately be addressed. So we had to change the law so that we could address emergency situations. We have not and will not go in, disrupt people's lives without notice other than in an emergency. That's why that ordinance was written. That's what it's about. So we do understand what happens when we go in and clean up. We are changing the way we do that. We've conducted a number of cleanups throughout the city. For us, it is not just Chinatown. We know it's in Chinatown. We know it's focused in Chinatown. Sometimes, I'm also a human being, and I get very resentful wondering why we have to have the only open-air hard drug market, and I'm not hesitant to ask my chief of police about that directly. I think that one of the biggest problems in Chinatown and in our city is the drug use. It is about public health and safety, but it is also more than that. It is about breaking down the silos. It is about figuring ways through complex situations. We have made enormous strides in the last 2 to 3 years working with the county, working with the nonprofits. We've got the shelter open. We've worked. I really appreciate the way Jill described the partnership, the multi-agency and nonprofit partnership to get a service center up and running. But also, in the longer term, we expect in 2 years to see 90 units of housing go onto Soledad Street in a partnership with Mid-Peninsula Housing. We have the property. We're going to apply that. We're going to make that property available to do a development. I think it's very critical to that area. We're also acquiring other pieces and parts of property in Chinatown. The very strong community plan was put together for Chinatown in 2010. We have set aside budget resources this year to look at implementing that plan. There's enormous issues there with environmental, the contaminated soil, the large PG&E Chevron plot, which could really give service to the community, but that has been under environmental treatment for decades. There's no secret to anyone that's been around communities and cities that homelessness and the whole environmental justice question and where the contaminated soils, it all goes together. It all fits together. We have a whole system of needs that we need to address. And for me, my perspective, and I bring a couple perspectives to this. I worked with the disabled community for 30 or 40 years through my own volunteer work in communities. And I'm old enough to remember when the state of California had a very strong system of care. And that when that system was dismantled in the 1970s, that homelessness as we know it today emerged. It was a very different conversation prior to that. And it's gone in a lot of different directions. We need to look at an entire community. We need everyone, and I think Jeff said that very well. We'll work on it as a city, although it's also important to understand that cities, as we're organized, not as we will, but as we're organized, are not organized to address mental health issues or public health issues. We look to the county for that. But we realize they've got a whole county. That's why we've got to work together on this, and we are going into areas, working together, building partnerships, breaking down those silos in ways that we haven't. I think the end game has to be housing. Good news on the permanent supportive housing, there are not enough shelter beds, transitional beds, or permanent beds. In the end, if we do not get our act together about housing, there is no place for people to go. It is not that hard. But it is about getting the right kind of housing. And when you live in a community that experiences the increase in rents that we experience, when we experience the seasonal housing from our agricultural industry, which just, we expect, our estimates that our population during the agricultural season grows 20%. And that is not on the census charts. We're at 55,000 as census. During the season, it goes to 175,000, as do a lot of the surrounding areas. And many of those folks are living in substandard housing, overcrowded, in places that are not acceptable by code. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. I do think that it takes all of us. And I want to speak to I'm sitting here in church, so I'm going to talk about compassionate hearts and the importance of how much we care about our community and those things that bind us together and bring us together. And it's our belief in each other and how we come together as a community that will define us going forward as we take on these critical issues. Who is it that we leave behind? And the answer as a community is that it should be known and that all of us have a responsibility for addressing it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jorge Rojas from the Veterans Transition Center. And every morning when I wake up, there's a famous saying that I read on one of the VA pamphlets. And it clearly has been ingrained in me. And it said, our veterans have fought many battles, fighting homelessness should not be one of them. And that's what I wake up with every morning, thinking, how are we going to help our veterans? What can we do to improve their situation? And just talk a little bit about our center, Veterans Transition Center. We kind of took over back in 1992 when the war closed down. And so what we offered was transitional housing. It's a 2-year program. We have our veterans. We have housing for single men, single women, and for families. Then there was a piece that we were missing because it's only transitional housing, and what happens after 2 years? So what we came up with is we started a bed prep program under the Wells Fargo Bank, gave us a donation. We hired an employment specialist, and now we're able to provide employment assistance, resumes, job search, interviews. We do job fairs all at our center. After that, we were able to be part of a funding called the Supported Service Veteran Families, SSVF. And that kind of funding, we have several agencies that are part of that. There's a Veteran Resource Center, Housing Resource Center, Central Coast Center for Independent Living. And we're all doing the same grant. And what this grant does is we help our veterans into permanent housing. So we pay their security deposits, we pay their rent. We can pay anywhere from 6 to 9 months, depending on their income. And we also help with child care, emergency food, vehicle repairs. If they need a license or employment tools, we help with that. But these are just only short-term solutions. And we're trying to get away from transitional housing just because the VA kind of frowns upon all these grant per diem programs, and they're kind of focusing more on bridge housing. So bridge housing is kind of like permanent supportive housing, and we just got granted a grant for $5.9 million so we can start permanent housing. So we'll start work on that beginning of 2017. We also got a grant from the city of Seaside for $35,000, and we will start remodeling some units for our veterans. So these are the long-term solutions that we're working towards. And also forming partnerships. We have variable partnerships with the county, thanks to Elliot, Margarita, audience out there. Under CAP, we were able to be part of the inclement weather vouchers. So this is the voucher that Elliot was talking about. If it's 40 degrees or below, you could get a weather voucher, or if it's 45 degrees or below and rain for 3 days, you could also qualify for vouchers. There's also what they call a HUD Fast voucher. That's from Housing and Urban Development, and what that is kind of like a Section 8. So our veterans are able to qualify for that based on their income and also their homelessness. And we're trying to get more vouchers here in our county, Monterey. We have them, last year there was 20 in Santa Cruz. We're trying to get more here in Monterey County. We're also trying to work with our landlords and just kind of explain this program that supports service veteran families, known as SSVF. And we're kind of hitting roadblocks because a lot of the landlords think it's a Section 8 program, and most of them don't want to work with this. And it's a lot of trying to convince them and trying to explain the situation. So another part of the works that we are doing is we're doing a veterans court. It's going to be the first in our county. What that is we'll be able to have our veterans come and work on expungements, reduce their crimes from possibly felony to misdemeanor. We did that in our stand down last year, and that was very successful. We had about $500,000 that was dismissed from fines and charges. So we're looking at our next stand down in August of 2016, and that's what we're looking towards with our veteran court. In our, just a little bit of our transition center, we're kind of more like a one-stop shop. We have transitional housing, we put them in permanent housing, we have employment. We hired a housing specialist who helps with the housing search. We also offer relapse prevention classes, AA, MA classes, life skills. A lot of our veterans, when they go into the military, they go in at a young age, 17, 18. So in the military, there's nothing, you don't have to worry about going to interviews, about paying your bills, housing, none of that. Everything's taken care of you. When you get out, that's where the problems begin. They don't know how to access the resources. They don't know what they're eligible for. So we're able to kind of take them and access all the resources they have, apply for the VA health care, benefits that they're eligible for, GI Bill, for education. So there's a lot of benefits that are out there they're not aware. And the big problem is trying to get our veterans out on the street. And under the SSVF, there was a surge funding to make sure that all our veterans are home by the end of this year. That's our goal. We're trying to accomplish that. That's a housing first philosophy. And with our partner agencies and everyone working on this together, I think we could accomplish this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to have some time for public comments, but what we want to remind everybody, why does this matter? As I was sitting down here, I'm learning a lot as your state legislator in assembly. When I get visits, I learned a lot. When I heard about and read about the new city ordinance, I know that when I went to visit Chinatown, there was a lot of residents that were concerned. But I know that when I talked to Don and to Gary, once I talked to them, their intent was very different, as you heard tonight, what the reasons were for passing that ordinance. But sometimes the communication really matters. And I always have to remind ourselves, by the grace of God go I. It could be any of us at one point in our lives that hit hard times and face similar difficulties. But going and visiting Chinatown, we learned a lot of things. One, I learned a lot about the amazing work. There's even residents who go to Chinatown every week because we even forget about, what about our pets? You know, there's some women that go there and provide food for their pets. Most community members don't know that there's people that care enough and that every week they're helping out in that way. We learned about the Mid-Peninsula project. That's one that's a very real project that will create 90 new units for transitional housing in Chinatown, where a lot of these services are at. That's around the corner. That's a very real project, and that's something the community could really rally behind as well. When I was there walking, I saw that two of the biggest vacant properties are two brownfield sites, the contaminated sites, but they're owned by PG&E and Chevron. So I guess what I'm going to do, I'm going to go meet with the government relations folks in Sacramento and ask them, let's speed up the cleaning process. Those are properties they can hand over to the city of Salinas to build more transitional and permitted housing right there where all the services are at in Chinatown. These are real ideas by just doing a visit and talking to folks. That now you have new people wanting to get involved. And that's why this is important, even though some people have heard it over, there's a lot of new people in the room that haven't heard it, that want to get involved, that want to be part of it. I was talking to the director of the Monterey County Community Foundation. He said he's also interested in bringing in the private capital, that was talking about bringing private partners. So you have new organizations and people that care about this issue too, that want to get involved, but we need that bridge to also inform them. How can they get involved? Where can they help? You know, how could they be part of this effort in Salinas? So with that said, I want to put this microphone, because we're here to listen to each other, and we want to have an opportunity for the public to also share your ideas. I'm taking a lot of notes here, but also share your ideas. So if you have a couple of minutes of your time, give a fair amount of time for everyone to be able to speak, 2-3 minutes. We also want to hear what the community and residents who are dealing with homelessness, what your voices are. That's a critical part of having a good comprehensive plan here in Salinas. Okay, so we'll start it off. Say your name, and you could speak for a couple of minutes.
Hello, my name is Lucia Riggs, and I'm an instructional aide here at Washington Middle School, just recent. I've grown up here in the Monterey Peninsula, and I'm very well aware of what's going on here, especially in Salinas. Just recently I've noticed, and because of the fact that I've worked at Dorothy's Kitchen, and I've served the homeless there. I've also been very active in my church, which is Sacred Heart. Worked with children for quite some time from a very young age. And I think my main concern right now is for the homeless and the homeless children. Because I know that everyone's meaning to do well there with Dorothy, with Chinatown and Dorothy's Kitchen, or whatever we may call it now. I've experienced situations where young mothers with children are going there with their children and being exposed to things that I feel should not be exposed to by children. So that's my main concern right now. And another is that I know you talk about the needles and all that exchange stuff. I'm not too familiar with all of that, but I'm pretty aware of what you're talking about. That's not the only thing going on there. There's a lot of other reasons why people are there and have no other resources for quite some time. I myself became homeless after working for a company for 22 years and going through a divorce and moving away and coming back to Monterey County. And I've learned a little bit about how things are working within the system and what's available and what's not available. So right now my most concern is the children. That there needs to be a facility with mothers with small children and for them not to be directed there. It's a great idea that you're going to be hiring people to run Dorothy's Kitchen because I think it needs to be maintained with some consistency. Also, just the fact that there are more people and more individuals that are getting more involved is great. I also have worked with the veterans and the veterans stand down for the past 2 veterans stand down, and I continue to inform myself of what's going on there with them, and I think that you guys are doing a good job right now, very good job, and I thank you for that. And I just want to thank everyone here tonight for being here and trying to help with this situation. Hello, my name is Pamela Weston. I thank all of you for acknowledging the relationship. Assembly Member Alejo, I came to your office with Bessie Taylor.
her son Devontae dealt with being autistic. 22 years with quality of life. We asked to meet with a 504 coordinator. That appointment was never made. Along with dealing with her loss of quality of life, my son in Antioch died. He was in Turning Point. At Turning Point, they didn't follow through with an assessment that would lead me home should have happened. With efforts to outcome, Elliot Robinson, I'm going to ask you if we can follow through with case management and benefits, if that's going to be a first endeavor. Instead of the barriers that deal with homelessness and houselessness, if that you can identify and work alongside it, our stakeholders advisory committee language that we put underneath the Health and Human Services. My first request is for you to acknowledge the leadership and advocacy and direction of lived experience and experts that Jeff Lerner and Jill Allen have identified. For Connie that had rats and mice biting at her feet. Through the at-risk gallery, Charles McCall and myself offered a place where people could develop relationships, not through trauma, but through sharing their life. So if you can work alongside with us, Assembly Member Alejo, with the expertise I have, dealing with solid corrections, dealing with restorative justice, for us to deal with that coordination and leadership, and that we the couple have. That's the first act I have. For city officials, Don Reynolds and Mr. Peterson, instead of talking about health and public safety, dealing with welfare, which means access to quality of life, dealing with an ordinance, dealing with every city council meeting that we have. We don't need 3 minutes. We need an agenda item that deals with dignity, respect, and quality of life. We need time to not deal with shootings, with police brutality. We need to deal with the impact that each one of us have. So after this meeting, I would appreciate that instead of dealing with homelessness, we deal with barriers, stigma, and respecting dignity that lead me home. Challenges to have. Third off, in dealing with the pastor, you've offered Tuesdays to be a meeting space for training, leadership development. So we would like to lead this endeavor after this fact with county, city, and state, dealing with health, human services, and quality of life. Not that are based upon our issues, but based upon direction. Third off, I would like for things that have been done for us all to come together in the Leadership Council, because prior to this, the work was done by all of you to prepare a system, but to develop a process that people can trust. I would like also your office to be part of that Leadership Council and see how many people actually can be in the speakers panels that can talk about their children's loss of life, how it feels to have to go to the bathroom in buckets, instead of dealing with cold weather and rain, that we can deal with access to things that make a difference. The difference between a house and a home is a respect given. In places down, like at the end of town by XL Sports Center, where people were hurt based upon not wanting to have the homeless come in, I'd like every business and every human being to now begin to follow the direction of yourself and Simone Salinas that really deals with the guiding principles of leading me home. Again, with Rita and the rest of the stakeholders that have begun to circle around and say, there ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people won't stop. Say, what? I am somebody. I am somebody. Because Jesus himself wasn't considered anything but a criminal. But in the end, he said that to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and love others with self. And he didn't have a place to rest during this time. That home would be honoring our mothers of essence and dealing with every person who's walking amongst us. Thank you.
And maybe people think want to respond to any questions or comments, we can do that at the end, Jeff. Here, Mary.
My name is Sandra. I've been homeless 5 years. I went to Hamilton House for 3 months and 7 months with interim on Lexington Court, and then 13 months at Shelter Cove, and this morning I got my Section 8.
Center. I've been homeless for 3 years. I am also a part of DRS, which is Dual Recovery Services at Omni. I'm 62 years old and I'm tired. And I grew up in Marina, and I wonder, every time I drive through Marina, why there isn't more housing in Marina. I mean, there's houses there. I know a lot of the problem was the asbestos in some of the houses, but it couldn't be all of them. And there's a lot of housing out there that's not being utilized at all. I need to get in a home. I've been in the hospital a couple of times with depression. I am bipolar, post-traumatic stress, and attention deficit. So I got a couple of strikes against me, but I've been in the hospital. I've been at Manzanita House. I rented a room where there was 3 men in the same room with me. I've been on the beach in Monterey, so it's not just out here. They're clearing people out in Monterey too. I was one of them that they were kicking off the beach. And I just wonder if you know what's happening with the people in Monterey, because that's where I consider home. That is my home, Monterey. And I just wanted to go back home, and there's not. I mean, yes, in Salinas there is a lot of housing as far as low income and stuff, but there's hardly anything in Monterey. And that's where I consider home, and I want to go home. It sounds sad, but I just want to go home. That's my home. And I'm at Dorothy's right now, and I'm grateful to Dorothy for a place to sleep. But what about those days that it's pouring down rain and you have to leave early in the morning? I'm already sick because I got stuck in the rain in Monterey those last 2 downpours, and I just want a home. So if you could help, I'm gonna keep hoping and praying, because that's all I can do right now. That's all I've got is hope and praying that I can be in a place of my own soon. I did have my Section 8 voucher, and like you said, apartments or owners don't understand it, so I couldn't find a place in the 4 months that they allow you to get into a place. I couldn't find one, because the first thing that would be out of my mouth was, do you accept Section 8? And the 9 times out of 10, they would tell me no, and hang up on me. So I couldn't get into a place. And since then, I mean, I've had my own for 20 years. And now I've been on the streets for 3 years, and it's hard. It's very hard to handle, especially when you've had your own for that long. So I'm just going to keep hoping and praying that I can be in my own home soon. I am working with Shelter Cove, trying to get into Shelter Cove, but it's just not quick. And I know there are some housing. There's transitional housing out there. There's Pueblo Del Mar. There's a lot of places out there that they could convert into homes for single women, and not just families and stuff. And I understand, that they opened up this place here by the police station, and they got Dorothy's, and they got Hamilton House, and they got Shelter Outreach Plus. But I think we need to have more housing for people that are on the streets, because it's I don't want to judge anybody or anything, but it's not just people that are on drugs and stuff like that. They're in Chinatown. It's people that are trying to get their life back together, including myself. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Compton, and I've been homeless with my 2 teenage daughters for about a year. I've worked, I landed at Dorothy's because I didn't know where else to go. I grew up on these streets in Salinas, homeless as a teenager. I never thought I would have to come back as a 51-year-old woman, homeless with my 2 daughters. I have 2 grown sons, one's in Denmark and one is up north. We went to Dorothy's looking for resources because we went to Section 8, was told the waiting list was closed, got referred over here, ended up going to all of these resources. Anyways, long story short, we ended up at Dorothy's with the advocacy there. They gave us some referrals. I ended up going to Shelter Plus. Had the opportunity to put in an application for transitional housing for my daughters. I went to the orientation, filled out all the paperwork, was told in 10 days I'd get a phone call. 10 days later, I get a phone call that says, we're sorry, you don't qualify. You receive Social Security. We want to house people and have them working full-time within 30 days. I'm unable to do that. I have income. I would like them to at least address the issue of considering allowing women such as myself to be able to go into your program because I have income. I'm able to go out and work part-time, volunteer, become a member of the society. But by you shutting me out, I'm homeless with my daughters. I'm grateful for the showers and the food that I receive at Dorothy's and the friendship. I've developed some friendships down there that mean the world to me. My daughters have, as the lady stated, been exposed to things they should never have to be exposed to at the age that they are. I have to shower my daughters somewhere. I would qualify for the One Starfish program in Monterey. Problem with that, they send me all the way to Carmel Valley Road, out in the middle of nowhere, having to move my RV every morning, walk 3 blocks to get my taco, drive my daughters to school because they're registered in school here, and do it all over again. I suffer PTSD. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I have fallen through every crack of every program in this community for one reason or another. The latest being, I have a dog. That dog has kept us safe on the streets in this city, and I cannot, in any conscience, give that dog down. Section 8, just put yourself in the lottery and hope for the best, because only certain people get picked. I went to interim. They can house me, but not my daughters. There's got to be a program somewhere in this town where a woman with children can shower their children on the days they need to go to school. We look at the YMCA on a Sunday because it's a family day and it costs you $5. We try to make it to Dorothy's on a Saturday morning, 35 people on the list. You know, and we've done pretty good. We've gotten those showers when we needed them. Went to the gathering place in Monterey for homeless women to see if there were resources that I hadn't tapped yet. They refer me to the same ones I've just been through. So I'm basically chasing my tail. I have adequate income. I need to find housing and help to get us into that so that I can go back to work part-time and maintain that. But this city has nothing to help in that area. There was another, I wrote notes because it's kind of emotional for me. I think covered the showers. Covered the... Yes.
Can we talk afterwards?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
I'll be
And
busy.
the other thing that I wanted to mention real quick was maybe you can get together with Tia Suki and Chris from the One Starfish program and try to collaborate areas in Salinas where I could safely park an RV with my children and not have to worry about getting a knock on the window at 3 o'clock in the morning from the police telling me this is illegal, you've got to move. Because my priority is to keep my daughter stable and healthy and in school. And in the situation, it's difficult. There's nowhere for us to go. They have a waiting list at the shelter. They have call every day, somebody might leave. That takes up most of my time, trying to keep gas in there. The other thing was the Department of Social Services. There's got to be a way that you can allow us, if we have an RV that we're living in and we are paying for it, to use that as rent to increase the food stamps. Because I'm homeless, I don't have a residence, I don't pay rent, they cut my daughter's food stamps. So we run out of food every month. If it wasn't for Dorothy's and the mission down there, I don't know how I would feed them. But if I'm paying somebody to own that RV, that should be just as good as paying somebody to live in an apartment. It's a housing cost. That's all I have. Thank you.
So, I was told, there'd be no finger pointing or anything like that, but there was an aspect of that I took personally, and maybe I'm doing this wrong, or maybe I'm not. But something about grabbing power. Somebody's trying to grab power, and that's the reason why we're creating fervor about this ordinance. I really don't agree with that. I mean, it might be my opinion, but also check the city council meeting where the Callahan, the attorney, says the history of this was because some people threw some bags of food over the fence on somebody's property. Now, that doesn't sound at all like an emergency to me. That sounds like a cleanup, that's on their own private property. Now, we've already closed out 38 of Soledad, which wasn't a vacant lot, and now there's nowhere for anybody to go but on city sidewalks, anywhere on Chinatown. So we're looking at, this is the last vestige left, and that seemed to me to be the reason why this ordinance went into effect. Now, I'm very happy to hear that this is only going to be used as an emergency and not just an obliteration of a community, a group of a community. So I do appreciate going on the record and saying that. I would also like to offer a couple of solutions possible. There are a couple of vacant warehouses around, 50 cents a square foot. One's 9,000 square feet, pretty close to the food bank. And, if you did 10 by 10 with nothing else, that'd be 900 people that you could do. You tone it down and have showers and kitchen and community space. At least they'd be sheltered, and you guys would get the wind too, because there wouldn't be any tents outside. Well, of course, there'd be rules and such. Maybe not everybody would want to go. For running that rules, I'm begging and pleading with any and every person who's capable of helping to form this management team that Joan and Jeff were praising just a little while ago. Help them become a 501c3. Help them go through the incorporation and bring them into the fold, because they're directly impacted by this. They are the community that you serve. And of course, that's the biggest piece of this puzzle that I think has been left out in the past. And they're responsible, they're caring, considerate. There's so much that goes into it. They're not getting paid a penny for this. They're doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They're doing it because it's the right thing to do, and they need to be recognized for that, empowered by that, financially as well as politically, and be a part of your team. I'd really appreciate any kind of help to help them become a 501c3 and help bring them in the fold. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Isaac D'Souza. I'll just get straight to the point. I know where time is running. I want to throw something positive at all of you really quickly, positive feedback, because I can feel, my impression is that a lot of us that came were kind of like agitated. We're kind of like, oh, here we go again with a bunch of talk. But I think the positive thing about this is hearing you guys speak, and I honestly am saying that because I sat out there and I had things on my mind that I wanted to say, but hearing Jill and well, more than Jill, there were some other persons too that brought up some things that informed me very much, and I want to thank you for having that format, although it asked for our patience up here. What I'm hearing is there's a lot of focus, there's a lot of attention on this Chinatown thing. Don't get me wrong, I'm wholeheartedly supporting what Dorothy does, and I understand. But I also feel that you've got other people, other homeless people that you probably heard it a little bit before, that don't even want to go to Chinatown or cannot go to Chinatown. And I think these are the people we need to also include in whatever plans we're coming up and in our suggestions and I'm gonna try to make it brief because I know we can't get into depth with this, but I feel, for example, there are people that are on parole, that are on probation. You know, they cannot go out there. I've made friends that they cannot take advantage of services that Dorothy's is doing. Okay, and then even when you're talking about this other day thing, with the Coco Cabana, right? Even when you're talking about that's still Chinatown. So we're still looking at people that you need to reach out to that cannot go there. Well, I got more things on my mind, but I'm going to end it there. I just want to make sure that that's something that's on your agenda. Thank you.
I think it's really good what all you guys are doing to provide some housing and stuff. But one thing I noticed when the panels were talking, I believe Mr. Lopez is the only one who actually brought up job programs. I mean, maybe it just didn't get brought up, and there are more that I don't know about. But I'm just kind of curious because I think providing people opportunities to get employment, that would get them out of the situation better than temporary fixes. I mean, some people have issues to where they won't be able to get employment. I'm all for getting them housing. I'm just kind of curious how much is done for employment. Because like I said, I believe Mr. Rojas is the only one who mentioned anything. Not that none of them do anything, but I'm just a little curious about, because some people who are able to work, it might be a better solution to get them working to where they don't have to rely on systems. I'm just curious. I don't really know that much about it beyond what you all said here. That's pretty much all I comment.
Good evening. I'm Art Woodfin. I'm with Friends of Soledad Street. I'd like to first off compliment Ms. Allen on the fact that we have a restroom open 24/7 now on the road. That gives us a total of 3 restrooms for 250 people. And only one is open 24/7. But congratulations. I'll stop complaining about it. I look around here and I see only one politician. Now, I'm sorry, the others had other commitments, but we're really talking to the congregation. We're not talking to city councilman or mayor. We did have the head of the Monterey County. I don't see our mayor. I guess he had an emergency to come out. I was told last week that the county of Monterey declares an emergency whenever the temperature gets below 45 degrees. And Mr. Robinson said, well, what do we do? You didn't declare an emergency. Why not? That's a question. To Don Reynolds and his boss, what's the story? You're supposed to get back to me, according to the mayor, about what was happening with the RV park that we wanted to make a homeless shelter out of. Is it still available to us? You are supposed to be the experts, according to the mayor. Hello? Mr. Peterson?
Yeah, we'll get an answer at the end.
What we have here is we have mission creep. Everybody starts trying to do a little project here, a little project there. I noticed in the Monterey County newspaper that we have organizations looking for $14 million to take care of 150 clients. Boy, that is a good program to get in. I wonder what that is, what that costs per man or per client. Anyway, Thank you. Let's do it again.
My name is Rinstead. I'm a mother of two, and I've been homeless for the last 2 years. I put up my 60 feet and don't lose it because I have evictions. Because it's just something really hard for me. My two kids will basically have to go back and forth and find places at times for them to do that because I cannot keep them safe. You know, and just, it's really sad that every day I go through like something rapid. Just, I don't know, it's just, I need to find either a program that will help people with evictions, or Section 8 should have people who will work with people with evictions. I lost my place because I had $500 worth of late fees that I couldn't afford to pay at the time, but I did pay my rent, and I was still evicted. Okay, well, then do you want to talk about, that's basically what I have to say.
We can talk afterwards as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Betsy Taylor. I've been home since January. I lived in Marie for 22 and a half years in one place. The owner went up on the rent, and the house didn't want to pay. So I lost my house. I couldn't find a place coming up, so I lost my Section 8. I lived in Chinatown, me and my disabled son. He's autistic and ADHD. I never, ever thought to be like that. And it's messing his mind up, and it's messing my mind up. And you know, we have nowhere to go. You know, every place I went, the door was shut in my face. Person tell you, go here, you go there. Then you go there, they tell you the same thing to go over there. Another one, they told me to come to you. And you know, and he shouldn't have to be out here. You know, because I blame Section 8. I blame housing authority. You know, because they wouldn't do it. On the Vanessa 2-bedroom, he allowed up to 1184. He only wanted 1165, and they wouldn't do it. I put an agreement out to see accommodation to see the coordinator, 504 coordinator. She never met with me, and I still haven't seen her. You know, and that's all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for all being here, and I do know Jeff Lander and Mrs. Jill Allen that works down at Chinatown. I'm not here to judge anyone. Whatever said is going to be said. I know that. But the thing of it is people do need help there. They do need help. I know this lady. We've got disabled children that live with us or cannot live with us because of circumstances. I am on income. She is on income. There is children who live down there that are disabled. You know, that need help. Everyone does need help. I'm not going to say nothing, sir. I'm not going to whine that you haven't heard before, that you can or cannot do. I'm not going to get up here and whine and say, give me this or do that. I will try to do my best to work with people the best I can do. I'm not going to whine for something that I want. I will work for it. And so these people need help. And they need help big time. And I appreciate you coming. And thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Roxanne Salinas, and I've been homeless for a year and 2 months. I am a seasonal worker and also a student at Hartnell College. I didn't know what it is to be homeless until I started getting sick. I had a lot of doors closed on me. I try to ask for help. I've been robbed, beaten, and left for dead. I'm just trying to get the help that I can. Mi doctor me dice que necesito que tener un lugar donde puedo dormir y tener las 8 horas. Donde puedo tener mi medicamento, porque siempre me andan robando mis cosas personales y se me va el medicamento, las cosas que necesito para cuidarme, para seguir adelante. Y yo nomás quiero la ayuda que puedo tener para seguir, para trabajar, para ir a la escuela y las otras cosas que se necesita uno para seguir adelante en la vida.
Good evening. Just to finish up with Roxanne, it's a tremendous testimony. The gist of it is accommodations, not only for Roxanne but for everyone. It's very clear for Roxanne it's the medication, and homelessness was never in Roxanne's life until up to a year, almost going to 2 years now. As you know, it's more chronic with many other people out here. And what Roxanne's asking for is just to have a reasonable accommodations, reasonable housing. And I know Roxanne also is a migrant, so travels with a seasonal work, resident of California now. But this is no different to what we have in the John Steinbeck novels and books with In Dubious Battle.
Hay veces que me enfermo y no puedo ir a trabajar, y cuando no puedo trabajar no puedo pagar por mis medicamentos o no puedo pagar por mi renta, y a veces yo necesito la ayuda con eso.
So she's ill, cannot work because of illness, and cannot work, obviously cannot pay for the medications. Not only not pay for the medications, but also not able to pay for rent, which is the housing, so that leads to the homelessness. Just to finalize, Roxanne has been helping out a group which is in the homelessness encampments throughout the city. And once again, thanks to our assembly member, Luis Alegre. We also share leadership roles in the Tri-County Association of Latino elected officials. So this is something that we should probably discuss in the future with our Tri-County elected brothers and sisters as well, because it's not only in Monterey County, but in San Benito and Santa Cruz County as well. The homelessness is being organized, and they're actually organized already. They're actually starting the union chapter. This is tying into the East Coast union chapters that were started out by Willie Baptist, who has now formed a connection to the Salinas Chinatown. No different from what the labor unions have done themselves. You have firefighters and you have police officers, you have teachers and nurses to protect their pensions, to protect their salaries, to protect their jobs. Well, here now you have the homeless union so they can protect themselves, so they can protect their lives. For Mr. Reynolds and Mr. Peterson, they've done as much as they can within their limited resources as well. I know that for a fact because there's countless presentations that we're given all the time. What I will point out is we do not have the mayor. The mayor, who is a Vietnam veteran himself, should know there's many Vietnam vets that are homeless and haven't received the assistance. So thank you, Mr. Rojas, for being here to provide more services for the Vietnam veterans. One of the major things that we're lacking here is more the political courage. It shouldn't take our assembly member, bring him down from his state business, which he's being very highly effective and productive in doing, in passing bills, to come and pretty much supervise us at the local level, bringing the county and the city together. Mr. Robinson, I know, has done as much as he can, but it's beyond that. Another person that is absent here, the district supervisor who oversees the entire city of Salinas District 1, Mr. Fernando Armenta. These are fruitless officials that continue to be in their positions, and we continue ourselves to put in those positions. So what it comes down to is, call it for what it is. There is a draconian city ordinance that is punitive. It criminalizes the homeless. So I would hope in this discussions we start doing some tangible things that we can immediately achieve. One is to go back to the city council. And I would take from all of us in this room and beyond to reconsider and to rescind the city ordinance. If we truly want to support homelessness, we will declare a state of emergency. We will do that immediately, not only what Los Angeles City Council has done, but this would open up the schools, which by the way, there's over 55 schools, 5 school districts, and if you look at your taxes, everyone here is paying 5 different school bond measures and other assessment fees, and they continue to fence those schools off even after hours, where we can't even jump the fence to do a proper jog around the track. So what we need to do is open that Armory Hall. The Police Activities League Board of Directors needs to come to the floor as well. We look at not only the nonprofit sector, but we have to have a more the nonprofits that are here are the ones that are always have been here. The church that's here has always been the church that's been here all the time. And then they get criticized for that as well, unjustly. But there's 300 churches in the city of Salinas. Where are they? They're tax-free for a reason, to help the widows, the orphans, the homelessness. Yet, they're not to be touched. So I hope this leads to a larger discussion. Our assembly member obviously has taken the lead for that. It should have happened way before. My apologies to the assembly member from the council. But this is what needs to be had. And 12 months or less from now, we may have a new city council makeup because you have 4 positions that are up for re-election, which is the majority of the city. Once again, my understanding, the homelessness has organized themselves. It's called the Poor People's Movement Union, and they will be filing a federal lawsuit in regards to the city ordinance because of what happens in the Lavon versus City of Los Angeles case. So I hope that it doesn't take something to that extreme to get us back to do the job that we have to do. Thank you to the ones that are present. Of course, our mayor is not. Of course, our District 1 County Supervisor is not. But I'm not surprised. So thank you again to our assembly member.